Hey guys, and welcome back to another Off the Cuff. Today I'm going to be talking about this recent transgender woman. Is that the right way of saying it? Because I can genuinely never remember which way around it should be. Used to be a man and is now a woman. MMA fight. And so it's Alana McLaughlin, it's her name. And I'm just to avoid confusing myself and tripping over things, I'm just going to say she when she was a she, and he when he was a he, because I can't keep up with myself otherwise. So he was born in Carolina, 38 years old, came out as gay from what I can understand from reading a few articles, interviews with her now, and went to the parents. The parents tried to send him at the time to conversion therapy, which is probably the worst thing you can do, as we know now. And I suppose as a lot of people knew back then, because this is a long time ago. Like, this is not in the current fashion of being transgender. This was in 2003 and before. Like, it was in the sort of 2000s, 2003, and that was towards the end of university for this person, Alana. And had an argument with the mother, joined the military, and became an Army Special Forces operator. Pretty cool. Was a bit of a loner, according to some people. Clearly had some mental health issues, at least before the military. So this seems like not a common tale, but a tale that we've heard before. Someone is suffering in their home life, suffering with their family, so they go to the military to escape, and they just get on really well in the military, like it's their thing, and da-da-dum. Left the military in the late 2000s after serving a tour in Afghanistan as a medic, and decided to start transitioning. Said that he would have killed himself if he hadn't started transitioning. Began to, I suppose as you do, began to get into mixed martial arts. Was already pretty ripped, as you'll see. And that kind of leads us up to here. I mean, about 4 or 5 years ago, she was saying that she was very depressed and she felt like crap. So obviously it was not a miracle cure. And I imagine the MMA maybe was to get that same sort of rush as being in the military, especially, you know, if you're actually out there in Afghanistan or if you're anywhere in a war zone. And then we have this fight recently with a French woman. And yeah, it was pretty difficult to watch, I'm not going to lie. There is something different about from what I've seen, you know. Obviously with Fallon Fox, had a few fights. Pretty disgusting though, because Fallon Fox never actually told anyone until the last fight that she was she or he was transgender. Can't speak again. And nobody really knew like what level of hormones they were taking and stuff, which is their way of trying to get them in there. So yeah, that was vile. And anyway, my point is that the power that they hit with is something that you barely see even at the highest level of UFC, which is, you know, like the very top level of MMA fighting. You know, you just don't see it. Like, and you'll see when I show you the clip, the French woman, when she gets hit, she looks at the ref like, Jesus, is that real? Is that legal to hit me that hard? And somebody said on Twitter, no, she was just looking because she thought it was an illegal punch to the head. Okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, it's a worrying issue, but I'm gonna come at it from a slightly different angle than other people have. But let's have a quick look at the fight.
Pegged away there as they get in the clinch, and this is where McLaughlin, her power, her strength, one and the same. Yep. Very appreciative for Provost to take this fight. I don't know how appreciative is that.
The kicks, she hasn't used them very well.
He's taking this punishment, but Big Rock did not find it. Protection there from Provost.
Dangerous situation. It's almost like if you're walking, and she suffers to this day from PTSD.
Big, now the strength,
trying to go
up, does pretty now.
We might have her rear naked
deep, and the tap. Alana McLaughlin.
Yeah, so pretty brutal. I just think it doesn't look like anything else. I've never seen a woman on woman fight that where the strikes are like that. Anyway, let's read an article that she did recently as well. Trailblazing trans fighter claps back at nasty messages from transphobic trolls after MMA debut win. Trailblazing trans fighter Alana McLaughlin has responded to transphobes, leaving her nasty messages after her MMA debut win. McLaughlin won her MMA debut against France's Céline Provost on Friday the 10th of September. Provost landed multiple punches in the first round before McLaughlin secured her win after using a rear naked choke in the second round of the epic match. As she was declared the victor of the match, McLaughlin wore a shirt emblazoned with the phrase, "End transgenocide." She is just the second trans woman, so started life as a man, to fight in MMA after Fallon Fox, who beat the crap out of several women. Who came out publicly in an Outsports article in 2013. McLaughlin posted a picture of herself on Instagram proudly wearing the bruises from her hard-fought victory before opening up about the transphobic hate she's received since her match against Provost. I'm getting a lot of variations of the same nasty messages calling me a cheater, like I just didn't get beat for a round and a half, McLaughlin wrote on Instagram. So she explained that Provost almost finished me more than once and that the other fighter definitely won that first round on the scorecards. McLaughlin then declared that this would be the only post she would make addressing transphobic comments about the match. Transphobes are just making my block hand stronger, McLaughlin added. In a pre-fight interview with The Guardian, of course it would be, Provost said she was unconcerned about her upcoming fight against McLaughlin. She also spoke out in support of her match rival, saying trans inclusion is a positive thing for MMA. So now you're also going to get your daughters willing to be the punch bag just to signal their virtue. So yeah, that's great. And I'm blaming us all as a society here. I'm not blaming individual trans people. Not because I care about what people would think of that, but because I genuinely don't think it's the individual people that didn't get the right help that they needed at the right time. It's the people's fault are the people that encourage it and are acting like this is completely normal. It's completely normal that you just cut off your junk and then get in a ring with a skinny woman and beat the crap out of her. You're like, oh my god, transphobe. I can't believe that you wouldn't put up with that. So it's our fault. It's not these individual people's fault. And even if you feel like me, well, I don't really agree with that. You know, did we speak about it early enough? Were we speaking about it in 2003 when this Lady Ferrell, when she was having those feelings to begin with? If you're too young, fair enough. McLaughlin said she never spoke to her mother again. This was an interesting part. The South Carolina native recalled a horrific phone call she had with her mother while in her dorm room at Winthrop University in 2003. So, I don't know anymore. This person, when she was a boy at university, she actually did try and get transgender sex reassignment surgery because of gender dysphoria. And I do genuinely believe that there is a mental illness, which was always listed as a mental illness until about 8 years ago, it's a genuine thing. And he needed help at the time, because it was a he at the time, still is a he, I guess, whatever, I'm so confused, and was asking for help. But obviously the wrong help, in my opinion, but somebody should have stepped in and said, wait, like, you're a guy, and you genuinely feel like you're a woman. Okay, well, that's clearly... something slightly short-circuited. We need to help you. Her family should have helped her, him, whatever. It was a him at the time. The South Carolina native recalled a horrific phone call she had with her mother while in her dorm room at Winthrop University in 2003. She told The Guardian the conversation came after a decade of McLaughlin's attending every conversion program that her parents requested. Maybe I should go get myself killed at war, McLaughlin said. Maybe you should, her mother answered, according to the fighter. McLaughlin said she never spoke to her mother again after that phone call, and eventually joined the military in 2003. She became a Special Forces medical sergeant, which included a tour of duty in Afghanistan in 2007. She told Outsports that she eventually decided to leave the military and started her transition. McLaughlin said she feared she would be dead if she didn't transition. She recalled how her transition was an uphill battle for her, likening it to her military training. McLaughlin shared she started training as a fighter after years of watching MMA. She completed all the medical requirements, including hormone level testing, before her match against Provost. She told Outsports she hoped to be a pioneer for more trans athletes in combat sports, saying she wanted trans inclusion in sports to be more normalized. If we want to see more trans athletes, if we want to see more opportunities for trans kids, we're going to have to work our way into these spaces and make it happen, she said. It's time for trans folks to be in sports and be more normalized. Okay, so it would be very easy to get down about that. But we must look and see what we've done wrong and what we can do moving forward.
Oh my. So I just did this long rambling monologue and did not realize that the camera wasn't even rolling the whole time, so that's fun. Alright, so I may or may not put this on YouTube. For now, I'm feeling kind of gross, kind of ugly, out of shape, depressed. I'm Alana McLaughlin, also known as the Lady Feral to folks on Tumblr and the internet at large. Somewhat well-known figure in the trans community online. Anyway, you can probably see right now I'm rubbing off of like days old makeup. My bed's not made. My house is a mess. I'm like 3 weeks behind in schoolwork for my coding stuff that I've been doing through the VA. Getting over a chest cold that I've had for a couple weeks now. Anyway, I'm 5'7.5", about 170 pounds, which is not where I want to be. I'm in the worst shape of my life right now. I know it's not super bad shape, but as someone who was a cross-country runner in high school and college and on scholarship for that back in the day, and a former special forces operator before I transitioned, this is... I don't know, I'm not feeling real positive about myself. And in the past, exercise is one of the few things that has helped with depression, so I kind of got to get back into it. So yeah, 170 pounds after, transitioned, like, it's been like, I'm like 5 years into transition, and I've had surgery in like almost a year ago, about a year ago. But yeah, like I said, I'm off my hormones. I'm in the worst shape of my life right now. Not feeling super positive. I'm trying to get back into it. So I'm going to be shooting for long distance running like I used to do. So, yeah. Hi.
So, yeah, there you go. I don't know. I'm trying to look at this from a slightly different point and sort of get away from the thing that has not been winning, which is just, I don't like it, full stop, the end. You know, these two people agreed to fight each other. Now, Alana has obviously chosen to do it because that's what she wants to do. The French girl has chosen to do it to help out Alana and also just to signal lots and lots of virtue. Will she do it again? Probably not. She looks like she had the virtue beaten out of her. I shouldn't joke, but she made her choice, didn't she? So it's very difficult to say, well, this shouldn't be going on, because as long as you've got people stupid enough to take part, what can you do? Like, I mean, you can say like this shouldn't be happening, but if you've got two consenting adults, what do you do? And, I just blame society as a whole. Like, I genuinely think it's all of our fault. And I know some of us will be like, well, it's not my fault. Like, I've never thought this was a good thing. In my opinion, these people have mental health issues and they've needed help. Not people encouraging them and, enabling, as they say. These people needed professional, treatment. And I would agree with that. That's the way I feel. However, part of being civilized is coming together as a society and nipping things in the bud before they get too bad. And a lot of us in the West can see certain things are bad, but 20 years ago, were we calling out things when they were at the beginnings of being bad? So for example, feminism, we all know that at some point feminism, they definitely had a reason. Now there are lots of arguments both ways as to whether they got more than what they deserve. For example, some people say, well, they weren't in the draft, so that's why they didn't have the vote. But there were other things as well, and I would say that I think most people agree that sort of by the late 80s, women had essentially caught up with men. Today, as we stand today, certainly in the UK, and I think in America as well, average woman has a much higher chance of being in university, a much lower chance of suicide, a much lower chance of being accosted in the street, and so on and so forth. So I believe once you have social activists achieving their goal, instead of going somewhere where it's needed, so they could have gone to the Middle East or parts of Africa, parts of Asia, where things are not like that, they just decided to kind of grind it into the floor, like, we still need more feminism. And then you obviously had the break off about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, between what they now call, or what the feminists now call the TERFs, so trans exclusionary radical feminists, who do not favour the transgenders, and you have the sort of full-on SJWs that would consider themselves like a fourth wave feminist. Did we nip that stuff in the bud, or did we encourage our daughters to use girl power and go out there and become an absolute nightmare of a boss witch at work that makes people's lives a misery because she's got girl power? So yeah, that's when I say it's our fault. Through your whole life, have you done things the way you think you should? Or have there been times where you thought, maybe I should have said something there? Maybe I'm just joining in because I want to be nice. I don't know. Everybody's different. But yeah, so I find this particular case more difficult because with Fallon Fox, like I say, she wasn't telling anyone. She wasn't telling anyone. And then when we all found out, we were like, what? Blah, blah, blah. Especially when you look back, you were always wondering why she was hitting so hard and whatnot, and throwing people around the ring. This time it's slightly different because they are consenting. So I don't know, it doesn't feel right. I think the biggest issue was 8 years ago when they moved gender dysphoria from, I don't know whether they have in the UK, but certainly in America, in many states, they moved it, or was it just on a federal level? I don't know, but they moved it from being a certain class of mental health problem, and then they sort of delisted it or deranked it, so it wasn't considered such a mental health issue as, say, bipolar or schizophrenia or something. But in my opinion, this is the root problem. Stop saying to people, oh, you feel like you're a woman, well, that's fine, just chop your private parts off and, wear some pink bows in your hair. We should be saying, okay, we're going to help you. Because this is only going to get worse if people don't just stand up, and instead of just brick walling everything and just abusing people, we have to find a solution and say, this is my solution. This is what I would be happy to do. Anyway. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. Well, maybe enjoy is the wrong word. I hope you found that interesting. Leave me a like if you did. I'd really appreciate that. And I will see you again soon.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish